Hello everybody, I'm Helen Rivero, Certified Wellbeing Expert, working with educational institutions and companies, helping them support their family wellbeing. And as you know, every week I interview different experts who make a difference in people's lives. And today I'm super excited to be interviewing Helen. Helen, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, you're welcome. So excited to be here.
Me too. Can you tell us about yourself and what you do?
Yes, I always think that question's really hard knowing where to start, but I'll try. So, my name's Helen Rivero. I'm the founder of Your Future Impact, and I'm also the co-visionary of the Young People Index. So, Your Future Impact is an organisation that helps young people discover their greatness or their unique impacts in the future or upon the world, really. So, we work in schools primarily, colleges, and universities, working with students, but also with school leaders, teachers, and parents.
Amazing. And I know that we'll be doing work together as well. I know you're doing such
Yeah.
amazing work. So you chose this title today, Helping Young People to Understand Their Unique Impact in the Future. Can you tell us a bit more about that and what made you choose that for today?
Yeah, and I guess for some people that might be like, what does that actually mean? Which hopefully, when I finish explaining, it might make a bit more sense. But with the work that we do with young people, we use the Young People Index, which is an assessment tool that looks at an individual's energy for making an impact. So the measurement really is about how do they what energizes them when it comes to working in a team, and we look at sort of 5 ways in which a young person can make an impact and contribution in a team. But it goes beyond that. The profile that they get, so individual reports that the young people get, goes into detail about environments where young people will thrive, how to influence, how to lead in groups and teams, how to get things done. So it's more than just working in teams. It's about, giving young people a new lens to see where their contribution and impact is in the future, that is aside from just academic ability, which is why sort of I took this into education, because my experience, and I know a lot of people probably listening, is that unless you're super academically strong, you can often go through the school system, feeling like you're not particularly doing that well. And what I love about the Young People Index is that we're not measuring that academic ability, is we're actually saying what environments will you thrive in the future. And we're not talking about jobs either, so they can apply it to anything: interests, passions, whether or not they've discovered them. They might well do as they grow and develop, and try new things. But it's a
Yeah.
real lovely way of getting more insight at a younger age for young people.
Oh, definitely. I think that's so important as well because we're also individual, aren't we? And everybody has strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah,
But like you said, if we're just, if we go to school and then that's all we have to know, some people they just can't study, they can't do the exams, they just don't thrive in that environment, do they? And then they spend so much time of their life feeling a failure because they never had the chance to discover their talents. So I think it's so important. I mean, I wish we had things like that when we were at school. Imagine how different your life would
yeah.
be.
Yeah, and I always say it. So whenever I talk about what the work that we do, I always start off with how did I come about sort of, the Young People Index or the GC
Yeah.
Index, which is the tool that's used with adults. And when I did the GC Index myself, I just instantly thought, I wish I'd had this when I was younger. I wish I'd knew this about myself when I was making some decisions in my life, where you're not that well informed, and you have, yes, your academic profile and how well you might pass your exams, but you don't truly know much about who you are as an individual. And I think that for me would have been really, really beneficial to just help me think about environments where I would thrive, the people that I need around me that complement my style. And it would, it's really validating. I mean, even today I had a session with a young person, looking at their report, and they could apply it to how they were learning and the type of communication they needed with their teacher, and the teach and vice versa, the teacher with them. And so it can really sort of tap into the learning conditions that one needs on an individual level, but also perhaps the teacher, their own sort of style of teaching, can be really sort of, I don't know, adapted when we look at sort of the big data, when we look at school data, because we can use the GC index with school leaders and teachers and students, and we can see aggregates and collective scores of sort of, these results. So it's really helps make sort of choices in for staff and teachers, as well as the young people and the students going out into the world of work.
So what, yeah, that's interesting you said about the data. So what kind of data do you see then? Like how does that
Yeah,
telescope?
the where it began, obviously the GC index has been established now for about 11 years, and was primarily used in organizations. And around 8 years ago, I came across it and decided that actually it would be really beneficial in education. So we took it into education, started using it with senior head teachers and then senior leadership teams, and looking at sort of, the maybe the head teacher's profile, and then looking at a collective group of senior leaders and seeing sort of what their profiles look like as an aggregate, and where there are challenges, where things are working. And it was really insightful. That data can really help shape, conversations with individuals, or where the team might be heading strategically. Are there any sort of, like I say, challenges? So that's really interesting. But also what the data can show us as well is that teacher profiles versus student profiles. So if you've got a class of, I don't know, 30 students, we can look at what that aggregate looks like in terms of how they might learn. And then we might look at a teacher's profile and think about how might they teach that class. So it's quite informative in terms of, really adapting. I guess it's like an adaptive learning and teaching strategy. It's early days for the data, but it's really, really interesting. We we see that another really interesting one with the data is when we look at schools, is we see sort of higher levels of game changing energy in our year 9. So in the UK, that's sort of around 14 years old, and then sort of as it goes into year 10 and year 11, when they're preparing for exams, it kind of changes, the energy changes into sort of, more, revising, knuckling down, and you can see the data representing sort of where the curriculum's going. So that again is interesting. So we're still working through all of that data at the moment.
No, it's so interesting. I remember doing it, and I found some deep insights about myself as well. And yeah, I think the more we know about ourselves and what makes us, work to our best ability, then of course I think it's helpful for everybody. And what I find interesting about the test, the assessment, is it's not very long, is it? Can you tell us about that? So
No.
it's quite a quick test, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It takes about 15 minutes, so it's quick, it's easy. When you go through it, we encourage young people just to be, instinctive in their answers, so we capture that kind of natural, instinctive answer. And then every young person gets a personalized profile. And then what we do with our programs is that the young people receive their profiles at the end of the first workshop, where they're able to sort of reflect on what their profile says. And it's because it's personalized, it makes those workshops and those sort of employability sessions far more impactful. And it's easy, like I say, it's easy, it's accessible, quick to do, and we have a platform where all of the data is kept as well, so they can easily sort of log in and have a look at it.
So I know you said you work with education. So who takes these assessments then? Can it be like one person, or does it have to be groups of students, teachers? Like how does it, can anybody just write to you and say they want to take part in this assessment?
Yeah, so I mean, any young person can take it, and any adult can take it as well. So what we tend to do is we work with schools where we run sort of group or class sessions. So that's one way of doing it. Teachers can also take it, as can school leaders. We also do parent and what we call family reviews, where parents and young people do it. So somebody that's a trained or accredited YP, sort of accredited, I mean, so they can take somebody through it, is that they would do a whole family review. So then the parent can look at their profile, and a young person has their profile. And often with those types of family reviews, is you see some communication challenges and how they might overcome them. So they're really popular. Family reviews are becoming even more popular. But typically in schools, we do it in sort of more group formats.
Interesting. So what kind of challenge, so what, I know you work a lot with the education sector, what kind of challenges can this help with? What are the
Yeah, I
challenges
guess.
that you faced, and how has this helped?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges, which I sort of see, my background, obviously, well, not obvious maybe to many listeners, but has been in HR and learning and development for many years. And I've recruited lots of young people into the world of work. They've come through apprentices or graduates, and I recognised that actually their self-awareness skills, teamwork, leadership skills were, things that weren't really developed in school. So actually, one of the biggest challenges that we see in schools is that those softer skills, those employability, industry ready skills, are not necessarily weaved through the whole curriculum. So, actually, what the Young People Index can do, and our programs, is really help young people to sort of develop more of an awareness of themselves, the unique impact that they have when they join an organization, and also for them to be able to articulate it in a non-generic way. So they're not just saying something that sounds like it's the right thing to say at an interview. They're actually talking about it because that's what what the YPI is telling them because of the answers, that they gave in the assessment. So that is one of the key challenges I think that, schools are facing in terms of self-awareness skills and employability skills. And I think that we really address that with the personalized report, but also the workshops that develop those skills.
Wow, so taking part in this assessment can actually help students find work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. In fact, only last week we were at a school sort of halfway through a program, and one of the year 12s came up to us and in workshop 2 and said, "Oh, this has been really helpful. I went for a job interview, a part-time job interview, and I told them about the energy that I have in a team and what I can bring." And he said he got the job. And, it was just that. And I just thought, he wouldn't have been able to perhaps articulate it in the way that he
Yeah,
did pre-program. So, that's one measurement. We measure levels of confidence pre and post program, and we see an increase there in terms of them understanding or knowing themselves on a deeper level. So yeah, absolutely. And it's also, helping families and teachers, that teacher relationship, building better relationship with the teacher and the child, parental, caregiver, guardian relationships with young people as well.
because
Just helping them, come together, communicate
communicate.
better.
Because I know there's so many different types of assessments out there. So, and I know the Young People's Index. I know for me, it seems one of the best ones. But can you explain like how your one is different from the others? Because there's just so many out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and lots of people ask me the same question, and there are sort of lots of personality profiling assessments out there that might look at an individual as to whether they're introverted, extroverted. You might have things like Myers-Briggs, uh, Belbin. I mean, there's a whole host of them, insights. But what the Young People Index measures is the energy somebody has to make an impact, and that is then almost the so what? So, how is this insight about me going to map onto a future role, project, or organization? And that's where it differentiates itself. We're not just talking about those characteristics, those personality characteristics. We're talking about how are they going to make an impact in the workplace, and how do we help them articulate it? And that is more empowering for a young person than just understanding perhaps the components of the personality. So the so what energy for impact is different.
How does it measure energy? I know that might sound a stupid question.
Oh, it's a long answer. I mean, there's all sorts of things that sort
Yeah.
of, I guess, get to the measurement of impact in terms of your life experiences, your beliefs, your emotions, your behaviors, and the level of skill that you might have in an area. So it's probably a longer answer for the audience perhaps, but
Yeah.
it's different to Myers-Briggs and those typical ones that are used perhaps with young people, um, because they can look at how it's actually going to impact them in a role. And like I say, a project, what are they actually going to do? The doing part of it.
Sounds very thorough. And like you said, I guess if it helps with self-awareness, I guess it is very thorough. And what other problems can this solve? Like, for example, you know, if you have a student who's, I can imagine it really helps students who just don't know what they want to do with their lives. I can see it helping that way. Like, does it help with things like confidence and things like that?
Yeah, I think, self-awareness, generally, whether you're a young person or an adult, the more self-aware you are, the more confident you feel about, talking about that or applying it to a new role or whatever it might be. I actually think it's so helpful because I think for young people, they can take some responsibility of knowing how they act and behave in a certain way because it's validated in the report. And that can lead to them having, like I say, communication or conversations with their teacher. We've seen that a few times with students that have had issues with engaging in a subject and they've taken their report to a teacher and the teacher sort of said, okay, that's why you're asking why, and you need more clarity or you need more time because you're trying to make things, you're trying to review and make things perfect, So that communication is really helping that young person to sort of have a better relationship, whoever it might be with. So I think
Yeah.
that is so important, and that happened literally today, this morning, on a conversation about what will you do with this information now, how can you apply it to a challenge that you might have, and it could be friendship groups even, with young people, they often have, their challenges is perhaps friendship groups or subject engagement, or not everybody that we talk to knows what they want to do, but what we can do is get them to sort of think about the types of environments that they may well choose and linking that maybe to organizational values of how it might feel to work in that organization based on what's written, let's say on a careers page or wherever it might be. So again, it's helping them to make a better informed choice about their future because
Mm.
they know a bit more about themselves and where they're going to maybe be. We don't know actually because we don't talk about jobs necessarily.
Yeah, no, brilliant.
Yeah,
So
no,
if,
brilliant. So it's
oh, it's repeating. If you go into a school then, and would you have to do this, would the whole school have to participate? Like, would it have to be the teacher? Would it have to be everybody so they're all on the sort of the same page, or not really?
No, that does happen. So we are seeing schools coming through as partners, which means they go through an accreditation process themselves. So they would send somebody from their school to be accredited, and then that gives them the tools and the access to the links as and when they need it, so they can run their own programs as and when. You don't have to do that. A school could just say, actually, we really want to run the Young People Index with a group of 30 year 12s or year 9s, and we want someone to come in just to run a couple of workshops. That's absolutely fine as well. That's what we typically see. We are seeing more interest in schools coming through because what a school partnership looks like is that they can use it for recruiting staff and teachers. Senior teams can use it for, team building exercise,
Yeah.
leadership decisions, strategy conversations, coaching conversations. So much can be used in that space, and it's a common language and framework that they can use that teachers, staff members, and students understand.
Yeah, no, it sounds
Yeah,
brilliant.
it
And
sounds
after the
brilliant. And
assessment, when you give them the feedback and everything, is there anything else that they can do after that, or is it up to them then?
Yeah, so we do. So what we try to encourage them is it's very much about self-reflection and some of the things that they need to recognise in perhaps areas of development. So as part of the report, there are some sort of top tips with working with others that think differently to you, because I think
That's
that
good.
one, coming back to challenges, actually,
Yeah.
with young people, typically they tend to stick with maybe their best friend or somebody that they know, and they maybe don't want to mix with somebody that thinks differently. Actually, the sessions, especially our team working session, we really encourage them to be diverse in their selection when it comes to teamworks, to break down any issues or biases that they may have, and include people. So it's very inclusive in its very nature, because we're talking about just the impact somebody wants to make. So that's really important, coming back to challenges. I don't know if that answered that question. Sorry, I
Yeah,
went
no,
off on
it
a
is.
tangent.
Thanks. Yeah, no, it's very interesting because it seems like everyone should have access to this really. But how old, what's the youngest age to take this?
Yeah, so when we originally did the research, we did it with year sevens, which was 12, but what we now say is from the age of 13 up until the age of 18. And typically, the more popular years are when they are making key decisions. So pre-GCSE in the UK, so that 14 stage, and then sort of 16, 17, and then perhaps when they're leaving sixth form or thinking about, going to university or potentially going into the world of work. They seem like really popular age groups.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you do other work as well. So tell us a bit more about how to help young people understand their unique impact. I mean, you've said a lot already.
Yeah.
What else do you
Well,
do?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I personally, because my background obviously is HR and learning and development, I use this tool with adults as well. So, as an example, I'm currently working with a university, and they are also going through the GC index, so the adult version, and we're
Wow.
doing really the same types of programs with the adults that we do with the young people, really, because then we're sort of talking in the same language with obviously some adaptation, because not every young person understands the language,
Right.
but it's about sort of joining that. It's about organizations that understand the GC index and the impact somebody can make, and then perhaps making connections with local schools that perhaps are using the young people index as well, so they potentially might recruit people from the school. So it's good for, we see organizations wanting to tap into their corporate social responsibility initiatives and sponsor local schools, where we're using the GC index in the organization and the YPI in the school, which is great.
Oh wow. So it seems like a lot. So do you do other workshops and teachings as well, apart from the GC index?
Yeah, so obviously not everything is the young people index and the GC index. I run a lot of programs for younger children using Lego serious play. So really
Okay.
love bringing in some Lego into the sessions. So most of the sessions are always around self-discovery, self-awareness, and we use the Lego to help young people to articulate what they might be thinking by building a model, a shape,
Wow.
whatever it might be. And that's, I don't know if you've used Lego serious play, but it's so much fun. It's a really creative way to get people to participate, and really be inclusive again. That for me is really important, is to include everybody. So Lego is a fabulous workshop that we do outside of the assessments and the GC index as well. I also do coaching as well with young people, one-to-one coaching, and with adults, sort of executive coaching and things like that as well.
And what made you go into this line of work? Like, was it anything that happened to you? Was it a personal decision or?
It was, so 8 years ago. I was working in a in an organization, and I'd been working probably for 15 years in HR, and just thought to myself, do you know what? I'd really like to work for myself. I'd like to work um, for myself, do some work that was more transformational HR work. And I came across the GC index and kind of
Oh,
didn't know what it was. And it was literally the game changer that transformed my life trajectory. This is no lie. I went to the training, and like I said at the beginning of the call, when I got my report and it validated how I kind of felt about myself and knew about myself, but when you
wow.
see it validated in a report, and
Yeah.
then I thought, I wish I'd known this when I was younger. I literally,
Yeah.
I kind of left my HR sort of hat, or career, put it to one side, and I took it into education, and that was I felt so compelled that young people needed to have this as part of their, as part of the curriculum, really, not just as a bolt on. I mean, we're not quite there yet, but that would be the intention, is that every young person gets the opportunity to understand themselves on a deeper level, but also through a different lens that they currently are seeing themselves through in schools at the moment.
Oh yeah. I don't think there's anything more powerful. Being able to have a different perspective on things is a life
Yeah,
changer anyway, isn't it? Because
yeah,
it changes everything. How you look at something changes everything anyway,
yeah.
and
And you
opens
can't
up.
undo it, can you? You can't.
No.
Once you learn something like that, that perspective changes. And yes, of course, we haven't got a longitudinal study to look at exactly, where someone took it back in year seven to wherever they might be at the moment. But, I really believe that the more informed young people are about who they are and what they like, and that self-awareness and
Yes,
self-discovery,
yes,
the better chances they have of choosing a career and being more successful,
yeah,
because they're doing something that they love.
yes,
And that for me is really important.
oh,
To
definitely. And the more aware you are of yourself, the more you can see in you, the more you can see in others anyway. So of course that's going to
yeah,
improve your relationships at work, and your
yeah,
personal life as well, because it all starts with you, doesn't it? What I was
yeah.
going to ask is this assessment. So how often would you recommend that people do it, or is it just a one-off one?
Yeah, so what we do now, so if a school signs up and wants to take a year group or a class, let's say, through it, they would pay once for the assessment, and then every year they can take it for free up until they leave
Wow.
school.
Okay.
So yeah, so then what we can start to see is any changes. What were the development areas? Have they done anything different? And we can start to sort of see a bit of a picture of what happened over that period of time. And hopefully that's, maybe 4 years or 5 years potentially if they stay on. So yeah, you pay for it once and then you can take it every year up until the age of 18 if you're in education.
Well, that sounds really, really useful. No, thank you so much, Helen, for sharing. And if anybody has any questions or anything, please feel free to put them in the comments or on the post, and myself or Helen will get back to you. Oh God. Is there anything else you want to tell us about this?
No, I just think, if you're curious about it, please, either get in contact with me or with Jasmine, um, and we can send a gift link out for you to try, for an adult to understand where their energy for impact is, because I think when you take it, you can understand it. And, yes, we'd love to speak to any teachers or schools or parents if we can help. That's what, we're here, and why we're having this conversation is to help young people, fundamentally.
Exactly. And anybody can take this, can't they? They just need to be 13 for the young person index and 18
Yeah,
for the other one. So anybody can take
yeah,
this. So I don't know
anybody.
if
Yeah.
you, no, thanks, Helen. I don't know if you want to put any links or anything that you have related to this on the post, and people can just click that way.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. So so I'll put the website link, and on the website link you've got the brochure for the students, leadership brochures, that type of thing. So it's really informative. It should be enough to kind of get a flavor. If hopefully this has been enough to sort of explain, but if you need the detail, then absolutely it's all on the website. So I'll pop that in the comments when we finish.
Brilliant. And how can people find you? Is that the same way or?
Yeah, best way. I think if you can either go onto my LinkedIn page and that you can book a discovery call with me if that's the easiest way to sort of talk. Or like I say, on the website, you've got all of the access to the brochures and you'll get a flavour of what it is and how it's delivered. So that would probably be the best bet.
Definitely. And then I think, yeah, I think I would recommend anybody to try it, because it does blow your mind when you see the
Mm,
results. I think once you do it, you actually can see how beneficial it is. I mean, I was really
yeah,
surprised because it told me some things that I already knew, but I hadn't ever seen it written down before. Like it's
yeah,
something else when you
yeah,
see it written down. You're just like, wow. So no, I think yeah,
yeah.
it definitely helped with my self-awareness as well. But no, thank you so much, Helen, for coming. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I know we've been planning this for such a long time, and we finally did it today.
We did, we did. It's lovely to be here, and yeah, thank you very much for inviting me on.
No, thank you. And yeah, please, anybody, if you have any questions about this, please feel free to message Helen. She'll put everything in the comments as well. So you can just click on the link and contact her. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you so much, Helen. And I'll see everybody next week.
Thank you.